Oh, Battlefront 2, how you do make me laugh. This is a game that started off with a heavy case of loot box syndrome, and it's recovered, but now, only last month, everything stopped getting updates, and to be fair, it is a far cry from the original state of the game. However, it's not perfect, and I was going to do a video documenting all the changes, all the new things, all until I found out everyone else has done it. So what's the point? So instead of talking about what Battlefront 3 should be or must be, because I haven't a clue if it's even coming out yet, but what I am going to do is talk about what I'd want from a video game, specifically a Star Wars video game. So my big idea for a video game, and trust me, I am not going to attempt to make it because this is absolutely insane. This is definitely an EA... No, this is definitely a Ubisoft level production, okay? Like, what I'm thinking of is basically Assassin's Creed mixed with Star Wars. And at first I thought, it could happen. But now I think about it, genuinely, I think this is absolutely brilliant. I'm going to take inspiration from Assassin's Creed Odyssey instead of the earlier ones, because it fits more with what I'm trying to do. So you start off as a bounty hunter, and you've got very low level gear like the that newbie in The Mandalorian. You've basically just got normal clothes, a normal pistol, and the idea is you take on missions that will heavily upgrade your gear, you know, like a normal game. But kind of like Assassin's Creed, where it's mostly loot based, like you'll find loot, and you can pick many, there's a lot of customization options there. You'll have a lot of access to different kinds of gear from different time zones. So I'd imagine this to be sometime just after the Empire, kind of either where the Mandalorian's set, but the problem is that I don't want it to interrupt that, so I'd probably do it around I'd either do it during the Empire's reign, so during Rebels, or I'd have it even before that, and probably as in the Old Republic. The only problem with that is that a lot of the gear I kind of want to be like the clone commando gear. That would be interesting, and then like you could have different bits of clone armor attached to you as like the gear system. As far as stories go, I don't have a flipping clue. It could be anything, to be fair. Personally, I obviously don't really mind, and I know that I'm not the best at thinking up stories that would be great in a universe like this, or as big scale, because like films or TV shows, you've got a very short amount of time relative to a video game where you have to show character growth. A good example would be Far Cry 3. Pyrocynical just did a video on that, and it was amazing. Watch it. Actually watch it. It's 2 hours long, but it is good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But there's also a lot of weapon choices. When it comes to blasters, I'd really like to take inspiration from Far Cry 2, because obviously Star Wars guns don't have they don't have a magazine or a clip system, so I was kind of thinking, okay, but I don't want that gun to be the only gun you have. So I quite would like to look into the Far Cry 2 system, which is that every so often your guns would jam. That would be more interesting, it would be more chaotic, and that's why I think like a hand gauntlet would be interesting, because if you've got good gear, then you don't have to rely on using melee weapons. But if you have to rely on using melee weapons, then it would be good to have that as your wrist gauntlets. I'd like to make more of an emphasis on Star Wars guns, because so far in the games that I've played personally, and definitely in next generation games, so far, gun warfare in Star Wars has been very basic, as in there's this weapon, or there's like a sniper really, or a heavy, and I think it would be kind of interesting to, if you are able to develop your character into being able to handle them better. instead of a level system in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, instead what you'll have is a load of options for your wrist gauntlets. So obviously you can have the flamethrower, you can have the rocket barrage, and you can have the clone commando sword, the clone commando knife thing, the stabby stab. A problem that I did find when thinking about this is how I was going to do it, whether it was going to stick on one planet or whether it was going to go to multiple ones and you'd have to use space travel. Now, I think that would... Actually, I don't know, because I'm not a AAA game developer. I don't know if you can make it as big as Assassin's Creed in different sections, as in you can space travel between planets and it still be as big as that. I don't know if that would be too enduring for something, so I obviously cannot describe. However, I don't think I'd want it to be on a boring planet like Tatooine. I mean, Tatooine would sure be fun, but I think it definitely has to be somewhere with a lot of variety to obviously not make the game boring. However, Assassin's Creed Origins was entirely based on a sand planet, so who am I to judge? As far as a map goes, I think that would be very interesting if it could take examples from Jedi Fallen Order with having a droid or something, a hologram that shows the map, so it puts your gun away but you're still able to get hit. This was similar in Far Cry 2, but obviously I don't particularly want paper maps in the Star Wars universe, and I definitely don't want cell towers. Like none of those towers. I think what would be more interesting is as you go up in the ranks of your guild as a bounty hunter, you get given more maps to understand the area. So you kind of have to go in blind, complete the missions, and then get rewarded for those missions instead of just climbing up something or killing people. I mean, there probably will be killing people. You are a bounty hunter, but you don't have to like get to a cell tower. That's the point. Now, as far as selling and loot goes, that would obviously, you'd be able to sell loot because that would also be I'd assume that there would be, you'd kind of be in the black market, so you'd be able to sell lightsaber parts, or if you have any expensive steel, you could exchange that for credits. Obviously, when people say bounty hunters, the first thing that comes into the head is Mandalorians. Well, it would be the Mandalorian, and then if you're thinking of Boba and Jango Fett, then they're not Mandalorians, but that's not the point. I think you should be able to get Mandalorian armor, but you're not a Mandalorian, so it's just kind of, you gather armor and you do become kind of like a mess of armor. I did think about this, and you can customize each piece of armor in like a set. So if you wanted to have a certain design on all bits of your armor, no matter where you got it from, in a certain colour, you will be able to do that. I think that would be interesting. Don't know if it's possible, but it would be interesting, and I would kind of like it. But I think it would just be like co-op. It would be solo or co-op. I don't think this is a multiplayer kind of game. Now, originally when I thought about this idea, obviously lightsabers do come to mind. Like, it's Star Wars, there are going to be lightsabers. However, I thought about this a bit more, as if you were a Jedi, or a grey Jedi, and then you started to go down the path of bounty hunter, and you could be either light or dark. I think the problem is, eventually you'd learn, like the Empire would learn that you were a Jedi, or a grey Jedi, or you're a Force user. They won't like that, they'll come after you, you'll probably die. And even if you do fend off like Inquisitors and stuff, it'll just get more and more severe. But although it might be interesting, I don't think it would necessarily work, because if you've got a lightsaber and you don't know how to use it, you'll most likely just die. So I'd think I'd stick to guns for the bounty hunter. Another thing I'd like to take inspiration from Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the kind of teaming system, as in you can either be with the Athenians or the Spartans. However, in this one, you can align yourself with rebels or the Galactic Empire based on the missions you do. You don't have to specifically be partnered up with one of them. You can have different places, have different ones. However, I'd like this to be more impactful than Assassin's Creed was, because I couldn't understand what it did to the overall story. So I was going to make this have either a system where you can supply both and it not impact the story too greatly, as in you'd be hunted by both sides, or if you only hunted the Imperials, then the Imperials wouldn't hunt you, or vice versa with Rebels. Another thing that I think would be interesting is for each area, if you go Rebels or Empire, it would give you boosts for your loot. So it would give the side missions would be different to your different faction, and that would it would give you more benefits in loot. And I think that would be more interesting and actually have some more decisions. Maybe there should be shootouts between like the Empire and the Rebels, just like random events, as like you go across and they're there fighting, and I think that would be quite interesting as well. By the way, when I talk about this, I haven't actually a clue if anything like this has been made before. It probably has, and I haven't heard of it. If you do know anything that gives an experience like this, please put it in the comments, because I haven't a clue and I really want to play this. I mean, it's pretty much just Assassin's Creed with Star Wars, except for you take away the Assassin's Creed mythology and put it in with Star Wars, which is pretty much what I just said. So forget the last 13 seconds or whatever. I don't know if EA is going to make a third Battlefront, but there will be future Star Wars games, probably, hopefully. Everyone wants another Star Wars game. I think that the next direction that they can go is something like this, hopefully, because I quite like the idea of this, you know, a really long game where I can be involved in the Star Wars universe. So I hope you've enjoyed this rant. If you enjoyed too, please don't forget to leave a like, and you know what? Subscribe if you want to. You don't have to, but yeah, I'd be happy if you did. Anyway, goodbye.